if you could go back and explore your past? These are my 23andMe ancestry results. DNA is what makes us who we are. I'm far from a geneticist, and I don't know a lot about DNA or genetics yet, but I did do a 23andMe DNA test to determine my ancestry. What I found out actually didn't shock me at all. I noticed there are very few people of Jewish ancestry posting on YouTube about their 23andMe results, so I thought I'd give it a go for my fellow Jews. One thing to keep in mind is that I'm not actually 100% Jewish. I'm largely Jewish, but not 100%. I know that my father's only about 50% Jewish, and my mother may actually be about 100%, but that's kind of iffy. So keep that in mind. My mother was born in the United States and is descended from a long line of Jews from Russia and Poland primarily. My father was born in South Africa and has more of a mixed religious heritage. We know very little about my mother's heritage. We know that we're Jews. We know that we're descended from Jews who were born in Russia, Poland, and related areas. We just don't know more detailed information because most of that information was lost in pogroms. My dad, on the other hand, can trace his heritage back to the 1700s. We may even be related to a famous French nobleman named Cardinal Richelieu. My dad's mother was born in South Africa. My dad's father, I'm not quite sure, but I know he was descended from Russian Jews. When I was 17 years old, I visited my dying grandmother in South Africa. She told me that one of the Duplessis married an African, and of course, to a 17-year-old, this means it must have been someone in our family that I'm descended from. So I did 23andMe partially to determine if I did have that African there. So without further ado, here are my 23andMe ancestry results. So as you can see, I am 99.8% European, so it's unlikely there's any African. There's only 0.2% unassigned, so it's unlikely here. Of that 99.8% European, I am, 74.3% Ashkenazi Jewish, so that's no surprise. I am also 22.2% Northwestern European. 11.8% of that is British and Irish, which is not surprising because my dad said we might have some Irish in us. 3.6% is French and German, which I would think would be higher because we have a lot of French and German in us, actually. And the rest is broadly Northwestern European, and that's 6.8%. Lastly, I noticed I actually have some Southern European in me, according to 23andMe, which is both surprising and not surprising at the same time. We didn't know about the Southern European, but it makes sense considering when the Moors lived in Spain, they allowed the Jews to live there, and so maybe our Jewish relatives mixed with some Spanish people, or perhaps maybe it's coming from Portugal because the Portuguese colonized South Africa. I don't really know. But according to my results, I am 1.3% Southern European. 0.6% of that is Iberian. 0.7% of that is broadly Southern European. According to 23andMe, I'm also broadly European. 2.1% broadly European, which I guess they couldn't tell where that DNA segment was from, but that's what's there. So I just thought I'd mention that too. Also, if you're really into this stuff, I only have 252 Neanderthal variants, which is actually less than 81% of 23andMe customers. I am also of the haplogroup, or the maternal haplogroup, J1C7A, which is relatively common among 23andMe customers, and it's actually one of the newer haplogroups, which only came about 34,000 years ago. So, that's interesting. So thank you for tuning in. Here's a picture of me. I don't look that great, but this is one of my better pictures. And thank you for listening to my ancestry reports from 23andMe. Comment below your reports if you're, especially if you're Jewish, because I'd like to see what yours shows as well. All right, take care.